he's grabbing the bag, shots are fired.
Who shoots the shots that are fired?
Michael Boatwright.
He said it was a bad idea. He said it out loud. In the car. To the same men who were about to do it anyway. And then he took the $5,000. Robert Allen IV sat in the back of that black Dodge Journey on June 18, 2018 and watched three men walk into a Florida dealership wearing masks he had just seen them buy. He had already been inside that store. He had already walked past the 20-year-old who was about to be killed. He had already told the group that he and Chucky had been caught on the surveillance camera and that this was not a good idea. Nobody listened. 3 minutes later, XXXTENTACION was dead in his BMW with 3 bullets in his neck. The robbery was already over when the shots were fired. The Louis Vuitton bag with $50,000 in cash was already in Newsom's hands. There was nothing left to take. And Boatwright shot him anyway. On the drive away from the dealership, the group's phones told them what happened. XXXTENTACION had died. Chucky turned the music up. Robert Allen sat in that car and said out loud that he was going to go to jail for the rest of his life.
About that. Whose idea was it to rent the vehicle? You have to speak up nice and loud.
They told him it was going to be fine. It was not fine. For any of them. But for Robert Allen, the man who stayed in the car, who took the smaller share, who said it was a bad idea, the outcome looked different from the 3 men who walked through that dealership door. He walked out of prison in October 2023. He is somewhere on a road in the United States right now driving a commercial truck. The other 3 will die in cells with stainless steel beds. This is the full story of what Robert Allen said. What it cost him to say it. And what it cost everyone else when he did. The spark, June 18, 2018, and what the surveillance cameras caught. June 18, 2018. Deerfield Beach, Florida. Yase Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy, the rapper the world knew as XXXTENTACION, withdrew approximately $50,000 in cash from a Bank of America branch in South Florida. He put the money in a Louis Vuitton bag. Then he drove to Riva Motorsports, a motorcycle and watercraft dealership. His step-uncle Leonard Kerr was in the passenger seat of his black BMW i8. Onfroy was 20 years old. He was looking at motorcycles. He did not come back. At the same time, 4 men from Fort Lauderdale were in a rented black Dodge Journey SUV. Diedrich Devonchi Williams, Michael Boatwright, Trayvon Newsom, Robert Allen IV. They had been driving around South Florida with guns, masks, and no specific target. The plan was general. Drive around and rob whoever they could find, Uber drivers, anyone they spotted.
As he's grabbing the bag, shots are fired.
Who shoots the shots that are fired?
Michael Boatwright.
Where does he shoot him from? What side of the car?
Driver.
So if XXX is in the driver's seat and Michael Boatwright is in the driver's side, the shots are coming onto XXX's left side or right side? Which side?
Yes.
They had not set out that morning to find XXXTENTACION. They had set out to find anyone. Williams was the one they called Chucky, 22 years old. Prior arrests for grand theft, auto burglary, assault, and cocaine possession. On probation at the time. Worked as a tattoo artist. Had 4 children. He was also the one driving the SUV, and the one who recognized the BMW i8 in the Riva parking lot. He had seen Onfroy before. At a probation office months earlier. He recognized his car from Instagram. Williams pulled up Onfroy's Instagram on his phone and matched the car in the photo to the car in the lot. He had an exit pass. That was how the group confirmed their target before anyone got out of the car. Williams told Allen and Newsom to go inside and confirm the identity. Allen went in. He walked past Onfroy, who was inside browsing with Kerr. Allen believed Onfroy did not notice him. Williams bought 2 black neoprene masks at the counter while they were inside. They walked back out to the SUV. And here is where it gets dangerous. Because what Allen said next, in the car before any of it happened, became one of the most important pieces of his testimony years later. Allen told the group this was not a good idea. He and Williams had already been captured on the store surveillance. He said it out loud. He told them. Boatwright and Newsom hesitated. Then Williams asked if they were scared. Boatwright said something to the effect of, "All right, we're going to get him." Newsom agreed. Allen refused to get out. Boatwright and Newsom put on masks and hoodies. Williams stayed at the wheel. The Dodge Journey moved across the street and parked. They waited 8 minutes and 35 seconds. At the trial, the lead prosecutor Pascal Achilles played that surveillance footage in silence for the jury for the full 8 minutes and 35 seconds. No narration. No commentary. 8 minutes and 35 seconds of a car sitting in a parking lot waiting. That is what premeditation looks like in real time. When Onfroy and Kerr came out of the dealership and got into the BMW, Williams moved. He pulled the Dodge Journey forward and blocked the BMW's exit. Boatwright and Newsom got out fast. Boatwright came to the driver's side window with a rifle pointed directly at Onfroy. Newsom came around to the same side going for Onfroy's gold chain.
And what happens is when they see him?
Could not get it off, then ran around to the passenger side and entered the BMW. He grabbed the Louis Vuitton bag. $50,000 in cash. Kerr was ordered to stay. He ran instead down the road away from the car. He survived. Newsom came back with the bag. The robbery was complete. And then Boatwright fired. 3 shots entered Onfroy's neck. 2 bullets remained inside his body. 1 fragmented. The gunshots clipped the upper lobe of his left lung and grazed his aorta. Onfroy was unarmed. He had not reached for anything. The bag was already gone when the shots were fired. He was pronounced dead at Broward Health North Hospital at 4:51 p.m. Eastern Time. The background. Who Robert Allen was and why the feds needed him. The 4 men fled in the Dodge Journey. They crashed it during the getaway. They eventually made their way back to Allen's house. Williams caught an Uber separately. At the house they opened the bag. Williams, Boatwright, and Newsom each took $15,000. Allen, who had stayed in the car, received $5,000. Boatwright argued Allen had not participated enough to deserve an equal share. The guns left with Boatwright and Newsom. The Louis Vuitton bag. The bank slips. The key fob to Onfroy's car. All of it left with them. On the drive back from Riva, they had learned via their phones that Onfroy had died. Allen testified about the reaction in that car. He said Chucky was not in shock. Chucky did not really care. That same day and the day after, the group's phones captured what came next. Cell phone videos posted to social media showed Williams, Boatwright, and Newsom fanning stacks of $100 bills. Dancing. Smiling. Hours after the shooting. Dedrick Williams was arrested 48 hours later during a traffic stop in Pompano Beach. He was wearing orange sandals and a white tank top, the same outfit visible in the Riva security footage and in his own Instagram post from the same day. He had not changed his clothes. He had not taken down his posts. Boatwright was arrested July 5th on separate drug charges. The murder warrant was served to him in jail 5 days later. Allen was arrested in Georgia on July 26th, more than a month after the crime. Newsom turned himself in at his attorney's office on August 7th. The last of the 4. All 4 charged with first-degree premeditated murder and armed robbery with a firearm. The case was on camera from the moment Williams walked into the dealership to the moment the SUV disappeared down the road. Detectives had the group buying masks. They had them waiting in the lot. They had the ambush. They had the getaway. But here is what the cameras could not give them. The inside story. Who decided what? Who said what? And why a robbery that was already over still ended with a 20-year-old shot dead in his seat. That story was going to have to come from someone inside that car. And that person was Robert Allen. The escalation, the interrogation, and the deal. Robert Allen was on paper the least violent figure in that Dodge Journey. He had stayed in the car. He had taken the smaller share. He had even said out loud before the robbery happened that it was a bad idea. But he had also confirmed Onfroy's identity inside the store. He had helped plan the logistics of the vehicle rental. He had taken the $5,000. And he had said nothing to police for weeks. None of that made him innocent. And prosecutors knew it. What it made him was useful. Because the story he could tell, if he told it fully and truthfully, was exactly the kind of story that could seal 3 first-degree murder convictions. Getting him to tell it fully and truthfully was the work of a detective named John Sergio, who went by a nickname, in an interrogation room in Broward County that Allen would later describe as making his claustrophobia set in. The interrogation has since been posted online and circulated widely. It begins with the formalities of any recorded statement. Then Sergio, methodical and patient, starts from the beginning. The easiest way to start talking about the case you're under arrest for. Let's talk about the car. The Dodge Journey. What follows over the next half hour is a slow excavation. Allen hedges at first, using I think and I guess when asked for specifics. Sergio calls him on it repeatedly. He points out that small lies make the big things hard to believe. He tells Allen that fingerprints are already on the car. That camera footage already puts him inside the apartment complex getting into the journey. That Chucky Williams has already told a version of events. Bit by bit, Allen starts filling in the picture. He describes how Williams organized the rental. How Tony Robinson's name went on the rental app because Allen was the only one with a valid license and needed to be the one to drive. He describes arriving at Chucky's house before going to Riva, the group watching TV, the conversation about masks. He describes coming up Dixie Highway when Williams first spotted the BMW and said it was him. He describes being told to go inside and confirm the identity. He names the weapons. Places the guns at Chucky's house. Confirms who had what. Describes the moment in the parking lot. The conversation in the car where he said it was not a good idea and nobody listened. And he describes the return to his house. The money in stacks. The split. The immediate aftermath. Driving back from Riva with the reality of what had just happened. Allen's own words from the interrogation. I'm going to go to jail for the rest of my life. And their response to him. You'll be all right. It's not going to happen to you. That interrogation gave investigators the bones. The plea deal nearly 4 years later would require Allen to give them the flesh. August 12, 2022. Allen pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and armed robbery with a firearm. The first-degree premeditated murder charge, the one carrying mandatory life, was dropped in exchange for his full cooperation and testimony at the trial of Williams, Boatwright, and Newsom. Allen understood the terms clearly. He would get to go home one day. The others would not. The legal reality. 4 days on the stand and what the evidence confirmed. The joint trial opened February 7, 2023 in Broward County Circuit Court before Judge Michael A. Usen. Allen took the stand February 8th and remained there through February 13th. 4 days of testimony. He gave prosecutors the frame that the surveillance footage by itself could not provide. The cameras had shown 2 masked figures near a car. Allen could tell the jury whose faces were behind those masks. He described the planning in the car. The decision to wait. The way Williams had directed the whole operation from the driver's seat. He described Boatwright at the driver's side window with a rifle. Newsom going for the chain and then the bag. Newsom returning to the SUV with the $50,000. And then the shots fired without any provocation whatsoever. Allen said it directly. As he's grabbing the bag, shots are fired. He named Michael Boatwright as the shooter. He said Boatwright fired 2 or 3 times. He said the whole confrontation lasted approximately 3 minutes. He testified that on the drive away from Riva, the group learned Onfroy had died. Boatwright turned the music up. Defense attorneys spent days dismantling him. They called him a 12-time felon. A career liar motivated purely by self-preservation. They accused him of altering his story between the 2018 interrogation and the 2023 trial to match what prosecutors needed. Boatwright's attorney was particularly aggressive, pressing Allen on every inconsistency, every hedge, every I think and I guess from years earlier. Allen did not collapse. He admitted he wanted a lighter sentence. He admitted he was not a reliable person by any standard measure. But he also said this. Well, I definitely would like to get a lighter sentence. Yes. But I definitely have remorse. I sit and look at the stand and see people crying, and I'm trying to do my best to get Onfroy's family and friends and his fans justice. But here is what made the defense's job nearly impossible. Every specific thing Allen said could be checked against physical evidence. And it matched. DNA extracted from the black neoprene masks purchased inside Riva matched Dedrick Williams with a statistical probability rarer than 1 in 831 octillion. Botryt's DNA on a second mask produced odds rarer than 1 in 929 nonillion. These numbers were provided by forensic analyst Nicole Onnett of the Broward County Crime Lab. Botryt's phone had pinged at Riva at the exact time of the shooting. It had Bluetooth paired to the rented Dodge Journey. A box of .22 caliber bullets recovered from Botryt's home was missing exactly 4 rounds, the same count as the shots fired at Onfroy. A separate .22 caliber bullet was found at Williams' home. Botryt's fingerprints were recovered from the exterior driver's door of Onfroy's BMW. And then there was this. Botryt's phone showed he had searched both XXXTENTACION and accessory to murder in the aftermath of the shooting. Williams' then-girlfriend Tanyel Carter testified independently. She told the jury that Williams had confessed to her that he had orchestrated the robbery and murder, and that he had then tried to get her to sign a false affidavit claiming he was not the getaway driver. She refused. Meanwhile, in the holding cells during the trial, a Broward sheriff's deputy observed Trayvon Newsome yelling at Allen during transport, calling him police, a sellout, accusing him of working with the white man. Allen testified about the intimidation attempt. It became one of the trial's most discussed moments. Defense teams tried to introduce a conspiracy theory involving Drake, pointing to a years-old public feud between Drake and Onfroy as a potential alternate motive. Investigators and witnesses dismissed it entirely. Drake had already been subpoenaed during the original trial, already been excused by the judge. Allen stated explicitly under oath that no one outside the group was involved and that the crime was a spontaneous robbery with no external orchestration. Jurors deliberated for more than 27 hours across 8 days. Long enough that speculation about a hung jury began circulating online. Nearly 1,200 text messages from the defendants' phones were specifically requested during deliberations. The extended deliberation was not weakness in the prosecution's case. It was the jury taking the weight of 3 first-degree murder convictions seriously. March 20, 2023. The jury returned guilty. All 3 defendants. All counts. First-degree murder. Armed robbery with a firearm. As the verdict was read, Michael Botryt turned toward Onfroy's family in the gallery and blew a kiss. The bigger picture. 3 life sentences and 1 truck driver. Sentencing day was April 6, 2023. For Trayvon Newsome and Dedrick Williams, life in prison without the possibility of parole. Mandatory. Non-negotiable. Handed down with the quiet procedural efficiency of a verdict whose math had already been settled. For Michael Botryt, the one who fired the shots, the one who blew a kiss at the dead man's family, it was heavier still. 2 consecutive life sentences without parole, plus a consecutive 30 years. Judge Usen looked at Botryt directly and said, "You turned a robbery into a murder. On that day when you stood there and fired that weapon, you didn't just end 1 life. You effectively ended 5 lives, including your own. You will spend the rest of your life in prison in a cell that has a stainless steel slab attached to the wall. That's your bed. And next to it is a stainless steel sink and a stainless steel toilet. And one day they'll come and open up that cell in the morning and you'll have passed on. And only on that day will you have served your sentence." Botryt sat through it and showed nothing. 6 weeks later, on May 17, 2023, Robert Allen stood in that same courtroom for his own sentencing. What the room heard from him was the thing the other 3 had never provided in any meaningful form. Acknowledgement. Directed at the people it had been done to. He told the judge, "If I have to die in prison, then so be it. I know the risk I was taking. Let justice be served. Please forgive me." Judge Usen noted that Allen had shown genuine remorse, a quality conspicuously absent from the 3 men sentenced before him. The judge also cited work Allen had done beyond this case, providing information that led to probable cause in an unrelated cold case murder and putting his own life at risk by cooperating against gang affiliates. Onfroy's family had been consulted before the plea was finalized. They accepted the arrangement. Allen was sentenced to 7 years with credit for approximately 4 years 9 months and 21 days already served in pre-trial detention. The math left him with roughly 2 years to serve. In practice, the sentence had almost already been served. The time spent waiting for the trial had counted as the sentence itself. October 26, 2023. Robert Allen was released from prison. He walked out to 20 years of probation, a sealed home address, weekly phone check-ins with his probation officer, mandatory in-person meetings every 6 weeks, and a standing court order prohibiting any contact with Onfroy's family. He was not permitted to resurface publicly. He was not permitted to become a story. In September 2025, the court granted him permission to travel across the United States for work as a licensed CDL truck driver. His address remains sealed. His probation remains active. No violations reported. No new charges filed. He is somewhere on a road in the United States right now, on probation until 2043. Driving. And then in March 2026, the story went viral again. Not because anything new had happened. Because the internet found it again. Facebook pages, Instagram accounts, threads, posts recirculated under headlines reading XXXTENTACION murder suspect Robert Allen released after 5 years. Many posts placed the release in 2025. Some framed it as a brand new development. Allen had been released in October 2023, more than 2 years before any of those posts went up. The outrage was real. The timeline was wrong. But the question underneath it, the one the viral wave was really asking, has never had a clean answer. Is what Robert Allen received actually justice? What happens next? The question that never goes away. Lead prosecutor Pascal Achilles said it plainly in closing arguments. Plans hatched in hell do not have angels for witnesses. Co-conspirator testimony comes from co-conspirators. Without Allen, the masks might still be anonymous. The roles might still be disputed. 3 men might still be in the kind of legal limbo that erodes cases over time. The deal was the mechanism by which the other 3 received the sentences they received. But here is the human answer that runs alongside the prosecutorial one. Onfroy was 20 years old. Shopping for motorcycles with $50,000 in a bag he had legally withdrawn from his own bank account. 4 men recognized his car, confirmed his identity, bought masks in his presence, waited 8 minutes and 35 seconds in a parking lot, blocked his exit, robbed him at gunpoint, and then shot him 3 times after the robbery was already over. One of those 4 men, the one who said it was a bad idea and took the money anyway, is driving a commercial truck somewhere in the United States today. The other 3 will die in cells with stainless steel beds. In October 2024, from inside Martin Correctional Institution, Boatwright found a way to unlock his phone and access Instagram. He posted, "I am not sorry for nothing I did." He added that he was not an evil person. The post spread immediately. Onfroy's mother responded publicly. The clip circulated on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, reaching people who had never heard of Boatwright and people who had never forgotten him. The irony of that post was not lost on anyone. The same man whose own phone had betrayed him through searches and location pings and Bluetooth connections to a getaway vehicle, using a phone again to broadcast his state of mind from inside a prison. In November 2024, Dedrick Williams filed an appeal brief arguing Drake should be reconsidered as an alternate suspect, pointing to the old enmity between Drake and Onfroy. Drake had already been subpoenaed during the original trial, already been excused by the judge. Allen had stated under oath that no one outside the group was involved. The appeal produced no new evidence. As of early 2026, the convictions have not been overturned. Williams remains at Wakulla Correctional Institution serving life without parole. Boatwright's direct appeal was denied by the Florida District Court of Appeal in 2025. The court rejected arguments about severance from co-defendants and challenges to the sufficiency of the evidence. The convictions stand. The sentences stand. Robert Allen broke his silence in a police interrogation room. He broke it again on a witness stand. He broke it one final time in a sentencing hearing before a judge who accepted his remorse as sincere. The 3 men who said nothing admitted nothing and showed nothing in every public moment available to them. The verdict, the sentencing, the prison Instagram post, are now paying for the silence they chose to keep. That is what speaking cost Allen. That is what silence cost everyone else. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Do you believe Robert Allen received justice? Do you think the deal was the right call to secure 3 life sentences? And what does this case say about the way the legal system uses co-conspirator testimony to build cases? Subscribe right now and hit the notification bell. Every development in this case as it continues through the appeals process. Full breakdown the same night it happens. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, keep the adventure alive by clicking on one of the suggested videos on your screen right now for more amazing content.